Wilder Show podcast. I'm Scott. That's Lauren. Hey, Lauren.
Hello there.
How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm hunky-dory.
Oh, great.
Doing just fine. If you want to send us an email, and we do answer our email. A lot of email this last week.
Trying to keep up with them.
It's nice, isn't it? You get all the thoughts and things. Email us podcast@wildershow.com. Podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops on Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central or before, on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. So like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And we appreciate you doing that. And we always like to welcome the brand new countries.
We have a new country?
We have a brand new country. We have overtaken another country.
Well, that might be a bit
Is that hyperbolic?
strong, maybe, but I don't know. How many people there? How many streams do we have there?
It looks like the entire country.
Oh, wow.
We already are conquering the United States, Romania, Canada, the UK, Russia, Netherlands, Poland, Germany, Ireland, Spain, España. And those were our first 10.
Okay.
And now we add to that Denmark.
I love it.
So welcome, Denmarkians.
The Danes.
The Danes, of
Wouldn't
course.
it be the Danes?
I think it is the Danes. Can I just say, I think you're great, Danes. And so you're
But
welcome.
they've never heard that before. Any of you ever heard that before?
Have either of you Danes who are listening heard that before? And it might be people that are not of Danish.
It could be.
It could be Americans who are traveling there.
Yes.
Who happen to be flying in there or working there. We have some people who listen. They have jobs that call them to travel. Anyway, welcome, Danes. We do think you're great. There is much to talk about. We have to mention, of course, the cancer. I would say the cancer diagnosis of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
But maybe it's better said the announcement of the cancer diagnosis of Joe Biden.
Yeah.
We don't know exactly when he was diagnosed. We know when they revealed that he had been diagnosed.
Yes.
And it could be completely coincidental, kelkawinky-dink, but it turns out that they make the announcement the day before the book by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson of Axios is going to publish.
Right.
That is coming out. And so they made the announcement yesterday, or I guess late day before yesterday, that he had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer and that it had metastasized to his bones.
Right.
And it also comes at the same time that that audio was released. Remember the special counsel?
I do.
The interview that was finally released, that audio was released. And it has him confused on really everything. It's confused on when the election took place. Was it 2016 or 2017? Why am I thinking 2017? Well, then, no, sir, that's when, it's like, wow. And to have off by a decade when your son Beau died. So I don't want to make light of it in any way. It's obviously very sad.
Yeah.
But I think what we're seeing is, and this is the whole Jake Tapper book, and a bunch of people kept this real quiet. And we talked about this a little bit last time, but one thing as I was thinking after we got through, I thought, I didn't even mention this other part. Remember when we had the conversation about what is an auto pen?
Yes.
And an auto pen is actually the signature of the individual, in this case, the president. It's an actual pen in a little machine, little robot arm that then signs based on what it's been programmed to sign. So it's not a copy, it's not a PDF, it's not a picture, it's not a mimeograph, it's not a JPEG. It's an actual signature with ink coming out of it onto the paper or the whatever it is.
Right.
And that's the way you know that it really was signed, like for a bill or like for a pardon.
Sure.
Well, now when we get this information, which a lot of people thought that it wasn't Joe Biden who was making these executive decisions, executive orders, Not all of them were done by Joe Biden. These pardons or whatever clemency was involved, the commuting of a sentence or whatever, that wasn't all done by him. They had people around him that were pressuring him or doing it for him. And once you get into the auto pen, this is why when Donald Trump said, I think anything that was signed by the president with an auto pen should be voided. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to have an auto pen sign, to the $1 million donors. That's okay.
Yeah.
Or for the Christmas card that go to the heavy hitters in the party. That's okay. But I don't think an auto pen should ever be used to sign a bill or a commutation of a sentence or a pardon or an executive order. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And this is a good example of why it would be a bad idea. Anyway, Joe Biden, we will see what this all means. I don't know. Everyone listening has been touched by cancer in your family or your extended family. Every single one.
It's probably true.
And so I don't want to seem to be harsh in any way about this. However, I do want to acknowledge that the timing is sort of interesting. And obviously, people would be very compassionate toward someone who had just been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. And so when you're on their, talk show talking about the book and you're talking about, it does sort of throw a little cold water on that for that purpose. So the timing is a little bit odd. It's sad, obviously. I think it's good to pray for the president, no matter who the president is.
Always.
Now, whether you voted for him or her or not. In fact, you should probably pray for the ones you didn't vote for more than you pray for the ones you did vote for. Although some of the ones you did vote for can be pretty disappointing. So you probably, never mind. Strike that, Your Honor. And let's make sure we pray for all of them equally. Because
early and often.
Early and often. We all need it. We do need it. And so do they. And from the Gavin Newsom wants to be president file, which is getting kind of thick.
I was going to say that's going to be a pretty fat file soon, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is. And I don't even think he believes any of these things.
No.
Necessarily. No, I don't think so. I never had a problem with boys playing girls sports before. But now he wants to run for president. He doesn't say he's going to, but he wants to run for president. Yeah. Now it's like, I'm going to take this populist position of, maybe it's a bad idea for boys to play in girls' sports. I'll take that position and go on Bill Maher and go on whoever else it is. Who's the big one? Joe Rogan. Went on Joe Rogan.
He talked to Charlie Kirk, too, about that.
He sure did. In fact, it was at Charlie Kirk that he first announced that,
I think you're right.
Yeah. Anyway, so he's snuggling up to all the people, for all the things and all the votes. Gavin Newsom this last week urged California cities, buckle up, okay? Urged California cities to clear homeless encampments. That's like half the housing in California is encampments. There's no escalating efforts, he says, anew to address the makeshift tents that line underpasses, parks, and streets up and down the state. Look, it's one of those weird things where you want to welcome people who would come to your way of thinking if they are genuine.
Sure.
I love it if a Democrat governor wants to clean up his state the way Gavin Newsom is talking about. The truth is, especially in California, there's so much stuff that is sort of embedded. It'll never go away. Not really. You can sort of come out as a person who really is pushing for this. And it's like, well, I'm the governor, but I don't control all the individual cities. Yeah. I used to be the mayor of San Francisco, but I can't. I'm not the mayor of San Francisco anymore. San Francisco, that's local government, and they have their own rules and stuff that they do there. So, but I'm for it, and I'm really calling on all these people to do the things that I never did when I was in that position as a mayor of a major city. Do you
really think there's no going back on that?
I think there is, but I don't think not in a Democrat state.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could possibly do it in a Democrat state, especially not a Democrat state that just, they welcome more illegals in. They welcome more people all to have the voter base to be so largely Democrat? I don't think so. I think it takes a strong conservative, most likely Republican governor who is serious about it to get it done. Because it's obviously it's a very complicated issue.
Yeah.
It involves mental health care, it involves the judicial system, it involves, so many veterans support systems, all manner of things. It has to. You can't just declare, let it be so. He unveiled a blueprint for a camping ban for cities and counties to follow in announcing more than $3 billion in grants for facilities to treat homeless people and others who struggle with mental health and substance use disorders. Even the wording of stuff, substance use disorders is people who abuse drugs.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. You're not unhoused, you're homeless. That I know you have to, but these words that we use don't make it clearer. They make it more complicated. It's like, oh yeah, for mental health and substance use disorders. What are substance use? They're people addicted to drugs.
Well, I think I understand the reason why. I do wonder sometimes. I don't know if it's even fair to say I put myself in that position, and I wonder would the label really be the worst of my problems. A person is not a drug addict.
He's not a leper. He's not a leper. He's a person with leprosy.
With a substance use disorder or an alcoholic, not identified as that one thing, but a person with an alcohol use disorder. Same thing with someone, I don't know, a homeless person seems to describe that person in his or her entirety as homeless.
That's true.
And I think they're trying to allow them to keep some dignity, which is a good thing. I mean, we want that, but it does become complicated, I guess, in the way you identify them.
He said at a news conference, no more excuses. It is time to take back the streets. It's time to take back the sidewalks. It's time to take these encampments and provide alternatives. Now, one of the things that Democrats will do many times is they will say, they'll take a conservative goal like the border. We're gonna improve the border, stop illegal immigration. We're gonna strengthen the border. Now, a conservative will say, let's build a wall. And a Democrat will say, no, let's fund the Border Patrol more. Let's spend more money at the Border Patrol. So many times the liberal answer is spending more money, getting more people to work in the government system. You're all on the public dole. That's the way they fix it. So when Gavin Newsom says, hey, I'm calling for $3 billion to be spent, do we really trust $3 billion to be spent judiciously in a state like California? Or is it just more money that shows how much you care about this issue, but doesn't really fix the issue? So I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say if you wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, you say, oh, that's really good. We finally have a prominent Democrat who agrees with us on the homeless. I don't think so. I think the thing you can walk away with is Gavin Newsom wants to be president. Newsom, of course, as I mentioned, is a former mayor of San Francisco, made homelessness a priority upon taking office in 2019, and he pressed local leaders to think bigger to battle what has become one of the most pressing public health and safety issues in California.
That's interesting because 2019, that was even prior to COVID. And COVID was when things got so much worse than they already were in California on that front. Even
this piece from ABC in Los Angeles says, hey, this issue is going to dog him if he runs for national office. They're going to say, do you really want the country to look like California? Do you want the country to look like San Francisco? Do you want the country to be run like Oakland? Is that what you want? And the answer would be a resounding, I think, no. Didn't we determine or find that like 1 in 3 homeless people in America lives in California? Remember that thing we had a while back?
I can look at that.
The percentage of homeless people in unhoused, whatever. I'm going to say homeless because it's pure communication. The percentage of homeless people who live in California, it's like 1/3. You know what? I've got it. I got it in front of me. It's a quarter. It's a quarter of the U.S. homeless population. 1/4 of the homeless population in the United States lives in California.
Wow.
1/4. It's 187,000 people.
So some of that can be attributed to the fact that it's a large state, right?
Can, some of it. Yep.
Warm, temperate climate in much of the state. And then the obvious things.
Democrat policies.
Yeah.
Liberal policies that don't seem to want to correct these kinds of problems.
You can live in a tent under an overpass and not maybe have anybody bother you.
We talked to someone in another city that's known for homelessness. And I think what she said was, if you want to do drugs or be homeless, this is the place for you. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
And so you think about that. It's like, drugs, it's a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm.
People that are addicted to drugs. Look, drug addiction is a horrible thing, obviously. But if you don't have laws that sort of bring things into order, it just makes it worse.
Yeah.
And so it's not a surprise that the most liberal states have the highest homeless population. A lot of states that have homeless populations that are high are not southern states.
Mm-hmm.
They're not warm.
Right.
They're just quite liberal. Or it doesn't get punished. It gets buoyed in some ways. Seattle's a good example.
Yeah.
Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So Gavin Newsom wants to be president. You can add this to the little file folder. I'm sure we'll be bringing it out again at some point in the next year or so, or less.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, tariff talk, and this won't be, really long, but we have to do something here about tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump is losing one of his talking points. And so take just a little bit to, what do you call it?
Unpack?
Yes. It'll take a little bit to unpack. Now, two things can be true at once. You can have it be true that other countries don't want tariffs placed on them. That it's a bad thing. Countries don't want tariffs placed on them. That can be true. And it also can be true that ultimately those countries are not going to pay the tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
When this first started happening about tariffs, a long time ago, even I think the first administration of his, I said, does he understand tariffs? I mean, if you make a company from another country pay more to get their product in your market, and that product is going to be sold in your market, ultimately somebody has to pay for that. Mm-hmm. That country is not, and the country has nothing to do with the company. If you have a company inside a country, let's say we put a high tariff on Spain, on companies that import to the United States from Spain. We're not making a lot of money from Spain. Spain is not paying any money to the United States. Mm-hmm. Those companies, to get their products sold in the United States, have to pay more. Mm-hmm. If they have to pay more, they're going to charge more to Walmart and different places, Target or whoever. So at the same time, there are plenty of times where tariffs go up and tariffs go down, and companies don't pass that cost on to consumers because the market wouldn't bear it. Mm-hmm. Somebody else has a product very similar to yours, and it's from a country where there is not a tariff on it. Those two items are side by side on the shelf. One is $2.99 and one is $4.99. They're exactly the same. What you're going to buy? The one that's $2.99. And so many times, companies will eat that money,
right,
and it will come out of their profit to keep the ability to keep the flow of the product. Well, the news, I think, over the weekend, if not late last week, where Donald Trump sort of threatens Walmart. Mm-hmm. Walmart says, hey, listen, the prices of some stuff, the prices are going to go up because of the tariffs.
Yeah.
The tariffs are going to cause some of the prices to go up. And Donald Trump came out with sort of a threat on the Truth, what was called, social media thing.
Right, Truth Social.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he said, hey, listen, Walmart, eat those tariffs. You made a lot of money last year, the year before, or whatever. You made a ton of profit. You can afford to eat those tariffs. Well, right there, you've lost the talking point, haven't you?
Yeah.
Because if that was being paid for by Spain or by China or by India or by whoever, there would be no need for Walmart to eat those tariffs. Mm-hmm. Because those other countries are paying the tariff. Well, they're not.
Yeah.
We knew they weren't. We don't know if he knew. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
So I think that's just one thing that I think is hearkening back to something we talked about before, that in fact, it's not the countries that pay the tariffs. The countries, though, can prefer not to have tariffs imposed on companies that export from those countries. Absolutely. They don't want to be a sort of a bad country to host companies that then have a hard time getting their products or services into the United States. That's not good for the country. So the country doesn't want to be a target for tariffs. But that whole idea of, we raised it, we tripled the tariffs or whatever, and now Mexico is going to pay us so much money. We're going to make so much money from the tariffs we put on Mexico. Mexico is not going to pay anything. China doesn't pay anything. India doesn't pay. Indonesia doesn't pay. South Korea doesn't pay anything. Either the companies eat that or they pass that along to the retailer, or the retailer passes it along to the person who buys the goods. And that's me and you. So it's no different than what we've already talked about. But I just bring it up because it's a clear example of what we said is true. And the very fact that he makes that threat against Walmart is evidence that, in fact, those countries are not paying when the tariffs go up. It is the consumer ultimately, unless the retailer or the company that makes the products will eat that cost. But ultimately, it comes down to the cost will probably go up for the consumer.
Well, and didn't he know that as far back as when he said, just tell him to buy 2 baby dolls instead of 30?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's another great example. I missed that one. Yeah, maybe they just have 2 dolls, not 30, or I don't want to get it.
Which is sort of
pencils. He said, pencils. Like really? Maybe they need 4 pencils and not 15. It's like what a weird thing. Little special golden pencils, I guess. But I think that's exactly right. So these things are passed on. He knows it.
He has no idea how much pencils cost.
Yeah, right. But he knows all that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of his followers should take note that there would be no need for Walmart to eat anything on the tariffs if, in fact, those countries were the ones punished. It's not the case.
Right.
It comes back to us, always to us. And one more thing before we go to Scattershoot. Did you see what happened to Brooklyn Bridge?
I did.
Oh, my goodness. What was going on there? And then they're talking, well, the current was off or the mechanical failure. Look, here's the bottom line. You know how tall the mast is on your ship. And you know what the height is of the bridge. You are going toward the bridge.
Was the goal to stop
No.
before? You should probably talk a little bit just in case there's anybody who hasn't heard or seen. Yeah, there were many different.
It is a Mexican ship of the Mexican Navy, and it's one that they use to build goodwill around the world. And it was, so was it the Hudson or was it?
It was the East River.
East River, right. Attempting to go under the Brooklyn Bridge. The problem was the masts were taller than the clearance. And so they cracked in half. And if you watch the video, there were people that were up standing on those things. And they as the masts broke, they were dangling. Some fell. At least 2 people died. A whole bunch of people were injured. I think there were 244 people on that ship or on that boat. It was a really pretty boat.
All lit up.
They all lit up. Lights everywhere, strung everywhere. It looked frankly like a Mexican restaurant patio with the lights all strung up. It's kind of cool looking. And the Mexican flag out front. I mean, huge Mexican flag. And they just cracked.
Turbulent waters. Tide had turned. It's still so. Where else was it going to go? Were they planning on stopping before they got there and turning around? They weren't attempting to turn it around. No,
they were going right at it. I mean, they couldn't have gone more perpendicular to the bridge. I don't know. Anyway, that's just a weird story from this week. Oh, it is time for Scattershoot.
Let's go.
Wilder Show, Scattershoot. It's not really like leftovers,
No.
but it's like the other stuff that we bring in. Like it didn't really go with the meal, so we're going to add it to this. And then we have more like a smorgasbord.
Maybe
Is it
you could call it that.
It's a G on the end, right?
No, it's a smorgasbord. Is it a Borg or a board?
I think it's a Borg. Look that up here. We'll edit all this out. A smorgasbord. I think it's a Borg. Anyway, it's like a little bit of this. It's like a charcuterie board. It's like that, where you could have a little of this, a little of that. Maybe like cheese, soft cheese, hard cheese, cheddar, white cheddar, whatever it is. Gruyere. I'm a cave-aged Gruyere man on really nameless, tasteless crackers. Mm-hmm. Those are the water crackers. Yeah, I like the best. Actually, the ones I like the best are the cracked pepper water crackers with cave-aged Gruyere.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be sliced too thinly. Mm-hmm. You can be generous.
You would not find it on a smorgasbord. You would find it on a smorgasbord.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Smorgasbord.
Yeah. It's a buffet-style meal of Swedish
smorgasbord.
Origin.
All right. Smorgasbord. Charcuterie Borg, though, right? Charcuterie Borg.
It's not. No, it's not really. It's a whole meal. Wait, no, you're asking now something completely
I was being silly.
different.
I was saying Borg. I'm trying to find some place to use Borg.
Yeah, a cyborg.
Mm-hmm. Or Ernest Borgnine.
There too.
You know that Robert Wagner is still alive. Did you know that?
Is. Yeah.
I keep waiting for. Somehow I stumbled upon some 48 Hours or something about the whole Natalie Wood thing.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, always been a fan of Christopher Walken. And he has so famously never said a word about that.
No.
And I was actually, as I saw this thing, I was thinking, I wonder if some of us call him RJ. I wonder if RJ is still alive. And so I started looking it up, and son of a gun, he's still alive.
He is. Mm-hmm.
And I thought, okay, if I don't wish him ill or anything, but I hope that whenever that day comes for him, that Christopher Walken is still around.
You think that would make him open up?
I do. I think when that is over, and he's the only one left, I think he might tell the truth. I mean, there's no statute of limitations on murder.
Right.
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 So now the only thing is, it would make him look so bad that he knew knew of a murder and a murderer, and he let that person live the rest of their life getting away with it. So maybe he won't say anything. I mean, who knows what really happened? We don't really know. But she didn't like the water at all, and she would never have gone on that little dinghy to go into port to get drinks. Mm-hmm. She had the captain of the boat take her she would not do that on her own. Yeah. And anyway, so I was just, we digress a little bit, but.
I always just kind of thought he didn't want it to define the rest of his career.
I think that's true.
That he knew it could be something that would, this was such a long time ago. He was still, he was a fairly young actor, and he's been able to maintain this career for such a long time. And I think if he had kind of allowed that to stick to him, it would have really stuck to him.
That happened, actually. He had just come off of winning the Academy Award for The Deer Hunter.
Yes.
When he was in a movie with her. Mm-hmm. And then they were out on this boat, and RJ did not take a liking to Christopher Walken.
That's what I remember.
And at all. Mm-hmm. And they got in a little bit of a little kerfuffle. Little kerfuffle, Mm-hmm. And mayhem ensued, and sadly, it
was just tragic.
It was very, very, very sad. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I don't know how I got on that. What were you talking about that got me on that?
Smorgasbord. That's how we started.
And then we got to Ernest Borgnine. And then I must have made me think.
Borg.
And then I was thinking about
cheese.
I
have no
and Gruyere, and I don't know.
Natalie Wood.
Natalie Wood.
You just asked me, is Robert
RJ.
Wagner still alive?
Yeah.
But I don't think it had anything to do with
like charcuterie
boards or cheese or anything like that.
Just out of the blue.
Yeah.
Out of my mind.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Now, we mentioned the email address. A lot of people wanted a copy of your story.
The baseball story.
About Palisades Dolphins. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you see how it went for them over the weekend?
I didn't. Did it not go well?
Well, they won in the first round.
Uh-huh.
And then they won in the second round.
Uh-huh.
with a 7-4 victory over Kennedy. And then they were shut out 6-0 to Carson in the quarterfinals.
Bummer.
Yeah, so they are no more. But perhaps the all of the attention that they got from Lauren perhaps will save the
ESPN,
baseball
maybe.
program. But if you want that story, still a great story.
Yeah, I'll send it to
If you didn't get that, just send us a request to podcast@wildershow.com.
Absolutely. Okay, so we were talking about California a little while ago, and I have another story out of California. And when I started reading this, I really thought that it was going to go one way based on something that we have already talked about, but it's really not that at all. There are birds dying, violent deaths in a Northern California neighborhood. It's actually in the Bay Area. It's the city of Richmond. And as many as like 50 birds have died along one residential street in Richmond. It's on the east side of the bay. The deaths all seem to follow a similar pattern. When a bird lands on a specific stretch of power line, residents hear a popping sound, and the bird falls to its death. So, do you remember when we talked about feral cats?
I do.
When I read this, and it said birds were dying in this neighborhood, they were dying violent deaths. That's the first thing I thought of.
Yep.
Apparently, it doesn't have anything to do with that, but PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, also said that it is not a power line thing. They've checked all the power lines. There's nothing wrong with the power lines. Inspectors with PG&E have found that there's no evidence that the birds had been electrocuted. Instead, the injuries that these birds have seem to be caused by a pellet gun, a BB gun, or a slingshot. Now, no residents in this area have seen anything to support that is the case. But that's exactly, I mean, they have conducted necropsies on these birds.
Like an autopsy for a bird.
Yeah. Did you know that was the word for
You
didn't really?
I did
You
for
did?
sure. Yeah. I did for sure.
And that's what the wounds are consistent with.
That's amazing.
And somebody said, I just can't believe that one of the residents said, I can't believe that they would be so accurate, but they have no idea how many birds have not been hit. But isn't that just the weirdest thing?
Yeah, for sure.
The California Department of Fish and Wildlife has been called into. They're investigating too. They're going to have some public works staffers in the neighborhood, and obviously the residents, they just want it solved. They would just like birds to stop falling off of power lines dead in the middle of the street. I just thought that sounded so sad and scary and weird.
Famous last words. You ever wonder about that? I just saw something. Somebody was just put to death in one of the death row things. And I guess we still do such an odd thing to give someone like their last meal. Yeah. You ever look that up? Like what people's last meal? It's so weird.
I've never looked it up, but I've seen it when it's been.
It's like I wanted this or 5 tacos and this, that, and the other, and it's just kind of sad and creepy and weird. And I've also looked up in the past famous last words, like the last words. If you only had one other thing to say, what would you say? And so I was just looking at some of these. I'll get to the story in a second. Alfred Hitchcock, his last words. Yeah. One never knows the ending. Remember, famous director, right? One never knows the ending. One has to die to know exactly what happens after death. Although Catholics have their hopes. That was the last words. Is that interesting?
Doesn't that seem awfully coherent for someone who obviously knew those were his last words? How do we back that up?
His funeral mass was actually at Good Shepherd Catholic Church in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Anyway. I'll tell you a really unfortunate one. If you thought of all this, like the smartest people in the world in the last century, who would you think of? Wouldn't you think of Stephen Hawking? Yeah. Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking's last words were these: "There is no God." And then he said, "No one directs the universe."
I have seen that before.
Wow. Yeah. You talk about a whiplash. Moments later, perhaps he would have found, missed it by that much. Emily Dickinson, her last words, "I must go in. The fog is rising.
Wow.
She died.
Mm-hmm.
You'll love this one. French grammarian Dominique Bourges. His last words were, I'm about to, or I'm going to die. Either expression is used.
This has to be a joke.
No, it's not a joke.
It has to
It's
be
not
a joke.
Nope. Thomas Edison, it's very beautiful over there.
Huh.
Then died.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs' last moments were written about in his sister's touching eulogy for him, where she writes, and she writes the whole thing. Steve's final words were, oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, wow. And he died. Isn't that something?
Uh-huh.
All right, let's see. Jane Austen, Bob Marley, Oscar Wilde, Buddha, Karl
What were
Marx.
Oscar Wilde's last words? Can you say them?
Yeah?
Yeah.
He said either that wallpaper goes or I do. That's
No. See, some of these are really beautiful and profound, and others just seem kind of.
Oscar Wilde passed at the Left Bank Hotel,
Uh-huh.
and before his death, he remained mostly positive until the end when he compared his health to the wallpaper in his room that he seemed to hate. After his death, the wallpaper was removed, and the room was designed to look like one of the rooms in Oscar's London flat or apartment.
That's kind of cool.
I had a friend who, his grandfather mowed the yard one day and came in after mowing the yard, and his wife's name was Bessie. And he looked at her and he said, Bessie, it's my time. And he lay down on the couch and died.
My goodness.
Isn't that just crazy?
Crazy.
Now, I bring all that up to say that sometimes you don't want to be mentioned in somebody's last words. Normally, you'd say it's good if someone supports you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless it's a serial killer being put to death in Florida, who cheers Trump on in his final words at execution. This is not a story you'd want. Accused serial killer who was executed for murder in Florida this last week used his final words to express support for President Trump after offering comfort to his family and the victim's family. He said, President Trump, keep making America great. I'm ready to go. And then he was put to death.
Wow.
Is that crazy? Weird? Anyway, it's a long way to get to the story about
it is interesting
the
to hear.
execution last words.
If you, kind of makes you think, if you had the opportunity to know when you would be
Ahead of time.
uttering your last words, you would want them to be
Meaningful
thoughtful.
or something, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
you could, you could always say them ahead of time.
make sure people,
Yeah.
make
some
sure
people do.
know how you feel.
Some people do. They put a little videotape on, say, if you're seeing this, it's bad news or whatever, and you give your little thing. And especially now with everything's online.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that it doesn't happen all the time. People's doing it ahead of time all the time. Do your own eulogy. Have your big face up there.
And then just have it.
Let me say a few words about myself. That kind of fit with
post this after my demise.
Yeah. That'd be kind of creepy, wouldn't it?
It would be really creepy.
But see, these things live forever, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, think about podcasts. We do a podcast. I don't know. Get hit by a bread truck. I don't know who's going to take it down. You know the password. I mean, it's just going to stay out there forever. Me, barking about something.
Well,
forever.
I mean,
it still sounds really healthy. Sounds as mean as ever.
It's funny you characterized it like that, but it is kind of a good reminder to everyone who uses platforms like this. Make sure that, how many of us think about stuff like this? That the stuff you're leaving behind, so maybe in some cases,
forever,
almost without a thought, will last potentially forever.
But I don't think we live like that, really.
No, I don't think we can either. I think few of us do, and few of us even try to.
Well, I mean, people say, live as if it were your last day. Well, you can't do that. You can't live it. You live like you got a whole bunch more last days because you got stuff to do. If it was my last day, I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do this, I wouldn't do this. I would only do this. And it's like, well, yeah, but you can't do that every day.
Well, you can't not go to work, and you can't spend every day fishing because it might be your last.
Right, exactly.
But you can be kind
Nice
to people. You can make sure that the people you love know that you love them, all of those things, right?
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
Whatever.
No, I
You're just going to hear it in your... Yeah. Okay.
Like here, Charlie Brown's teacher. Okay, and Lawrence, there she goes again. Love everybody, be nice to everybody. God, if I had a dime for every time I've heard that. You need to be nice to everyone.
Demery Ardell Wilson walked into a Whataburger in Houston last July.
Okay.
And he says that he ordered a burger with no onions. But then he got the burger.
Okay.
And he took a bite of the burger.
Okay.
And the burger did indeed have onions on it.
Okay. Well, what's the big deal about that?
Well, the big deal is that because of those onions, he's filed a lawsuit just a few weeks ago. He's allergic to onions. He says that he only took that one bite. Didn't take any more bites, but that he said this allergy, that just that one bite was enough to trigger his allergic reaction. He had to seek medical treatment, and he says that he suffered serious personal injuries, and that has caused him to seek damages of more than $250,000, but less than $1 million. That's what the court filing says.
I'm not sure I buy all this. Go ahead.
Well, it is a really hard thing to prove, as you might imagine.
Yeah.
He needs to have the, Whataburger says, strict proof of his claims. Pictures of the burger, the receipt where he asked for it to have no onions, some kind of picture that shows that it did indeed have onions. But it seems like that would be really hard to falsify, too. And I don't know if this can even have...
You mean easy to falsify?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
Easy,
It'd be really easy to falsify. You take picture of any burger.
Any burger.
I mean, you'd get a burger any day. You'd have to have like the burger sitting on top of a newspaper dated on that day.
It's like a proof of life burger.
You could even do that. I mean, it doesn't even seem like it'd be really hard.
Like a hostage proof of life. You have to have the burger in a photo with today's newspaper. Yeah, but even then, you could buy one burger. You order one burger with onions and one burger without, and then sort of flip them and say, no, this is the one. Was this to make the money? I don't. And the other thing is this. I mean, you ever smelled Whataburger onions? I mean, they are very strong. I don't know what they do, but they're extra robust onions on that burger. And if you're really allergic to it, it seems to me you would. I don't know. You would probably. I could see not smelling, but I could see not smelling the onions in like a McDonald's burger. It's like little tiny like sesame seeds,
little chopped up,
they're
onions,
little tiny onions. But the ones over there at Whataburger are the real deal.
Yeah, I don't like tomatoes.
Right.
And when I order a burger with it, this just happened to me yesterday. Ordered a burger without tomatoes. Okay. I check anyway. It had a tomato on it. I took it off. Now, I'm not allergic. If there's a little bit of tomato residue there, not a big deal. But that's not even my point. Okay. I mean, check. Especially if it's
allergic. It's a health issue.
Like a life-threatening or even just a health-threatening risk. I'm not trying to put, maybe there is some responsibility on Whataburger's part, but I don't even know because the thing that calls all of this into question is that last year he filed a similar lawsuit against Sonic also for allegedly putting onions on his burger and triggering an allergic reaction.
Yeah.
So,
well, here's the deal. He's not a native Texan because I can see suing Sonic. They were founded out of Oklahoma, but not Whataburger. That's a Texas. We don't sue our own.
Don't mess with Texas.
Don't mess with our own. Yeah, I'm not sure I buy that. Although if you had something bad that happened, like you had a bug in your food or something, I've always wondered how do you even prove that? I mean, how could you? I know people have won lawsuits, but if I went and grabbed like a bug and I put it in a Coca-Cola, and then I opened it and took a picture of it. That doesn't mean it was in there.
No, yeah. I don't know.
Sometimes I think, and this maybe what this cat is hoping, is that they would just pay money to make it go away.
Settle.
Like you sue somebody because it costs less money to just pay somebody off, basically, than it does to fight it in court. You pay a lot more in legal fees to fight this.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. It was outside of Houston, you said, I think?
It was.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
Plainview, I think.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. This is sort of, as the kids would say, random. But when the Pope died, any Pope, when the Pope dies, when any of the popes die, they take off their ring. They have this little ring. It's the fisherman's ring or something like that. And it's supposed to harken back to Peter.
Fishers of men.
Fishers of men and all that. But they take this ring and they destroy it. Did you know that?
I didn't.
So and so the new pope gets a ring that is specific to him. And that's where we get the phrase, kiss the ring. Was from kissing the ring of the Pope.
Ring. Yeah.
That's the ring that people were kissing. But the need for the ring has really gone away. I mean, the olden times, you know what the ring was used for? Remember?
I don't.
If you had, let's say you were sending a missive to somewhere else, you had written this thing with a quill and ink, right? And you written this thing and you scroll it up and then you seal it with wax.
Right.
And it is the ring that goes in, and that's how they know who it's from.
Oh, wow.
So that's how you knew that was identified as being from you. And it was more recently, you may have seen some people do that every now and then. You'll have an envelope, and they'll seal it with a little bit of red wax, and they'll put a little stamp of your initial or whatever.
Sure.
But that's what that ring was used for.
Okay.
Is for that. Well, we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I guess they still kiss the ring. I mean, I guess they do.
I think they do.
Yeah, I think they do.
I've seen that.
Kind of creepy. Everybody kissing the same ring.
Maybe they wipe it off.
I don't think they do. I've looked at it. It's like, what's going on?
Did you see that Sesame Street will now be brought to us by a different letter? The
No.
letter N. The
Letter
letter N for
N.
Netflix.
Oh, really?
Netflix has picked up the children's series.
Really?
So it
I don't-
will
wait a
still it's still going to be on PBS.
Okay.
Like it has been for all of these last years. This will be the 56th season.
Wow.
But for the past several years, it has been streaming also on HBO Max, HBO Max, Max HBO, whatever it was at the time, and they are ending that deal. They're not doing as much children's programming. Netflix has a lot of success with children's programming, so they have picked it up. All the new episodes will be a little bit different. I don't know if this matters to anybody. There was a point in time in my world where Sesame Street was a part of our everyday life, 7 days a week, but it's going to be a little bit different. It's now every episode is going to center on one 11-minute story, and then everything else will be built around that story.
That's interesting.
I might tune in just to see. It's been such a long time.
Is it still a daily? Is it? They're
It is
gonna
a
do
daily.
every single day the different story.
Monday through Friday.
I was never a huge fan. I mean, it's not that I was against it. I was never.
Oh, you're not remembering right because there were so many great double entendre things that would make it like really
Adults
clever
could really
things.
enjoy it, too.
Yeah, and not in a creepy adult way, but
Right,
just in a way that would make it.
Yeah.
You remember Twin Peaks?
Right, Twin Peaks at Twin Peaks. There was things, The Godfather.
It was,
we would know
yes,
things
it
like
was full of things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Instead
That's
of Mad Men, Sad Men.
Sad Men. Yeah, that's
very
true. That's
clever.
true. Very clever. Yeah, for
very
sure.
imaginative, fun to watch with your kids, not just because your kids were enjoying it, but because there was stuff tucked in there for you too.
I got you. So when does this all happen? When is it going to affect?
It says with the new season, and the new season I think usually starts in September, but this does not say that specifically. But I'm thinking, September with the new season.
In the fall. Okay. The fall. Okay. Well, that is the Wilder Show podcast. If you want to send us an email, just send it to podcast@wildershow.com. If you've heard anything today and you want more information or any criticism directed at yours truly. Believe me, I'm very calloused to that. So bring it on.
Tough.
Podcasts. Podcast. I'm very sensitive. See, that's a tough. That's a tough. What do you call it? I'm putting out there is a tough fake. What do you call it when you do a fake?
A veneer.
Yes, it's a tough veneer, but I'm really quite sensitive. Podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops on Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you might get your podcasts. So please like, rate, follow, subscribe, and I must say, please share with your friends. We can see when the numbers go up, and it's very encouraging, I must say. Because Lauren said if they don't go up, a little bit more, she's not coming back. And I know you don't want to be here with just me. Believe me. Look, I don't want to be here with just me. So like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. We love being with you for the Wilder Show podcast. All right, we'll see you next time. Also, I wrote this down. It wouldn't be used. If I were a news female, I would not swoop my hair over to one side.
Okay.
I see a lot of them doing that. I wouldn't do that, I don't think.
Even if it was the style?
Maybe.
I'll ask you on the air.
I'm wheezy. I guess they still kiss the ring. I mean, I guess they do. Everybody kissing the same ring.
Maybe they wipe it off.
I don't think they do.
Would that be bad form if you walked up to it?
Yeah. You walk up
wiped it off
with a little Clorox
you,
rag there in front of the pontiff. Excuse me, Your Highness. And you just, or what are they?
No, Your Holiness. Your Highness, Your Holiness.
Do